So, talking about resolutions and intentions and goals for January, sometimes people make relationships a goal, whether that is to improve the one they're in, or get one,
Or end one.
or get out one,
And
or
could be just as important.
or just feel better about it all. But one of the things that I find that when a person starts making goals about, I want to attract the perfect partner, or it could even be a business thing. I want to attract the
Yes.
perfect clients, or the perfect position, job,
Family member.
or family member.
My relationships with family is
Yeah.
just as important too.
Yeah.
Or friends.
Yeah.
Better relationships with your friends.
Totally.
The truth is, and I get a wee bit sad about this though, because sometimes when people do that, it's because they're not dealing with the relationship with themselves.
Yes.
They think that in order to feel better about themselves, they have to have that significant other or that better family relationship. And so what's your thoughts on that, Nancy? What do you see people doing stress-wise about relationships? Do you see that a lot, where people think that something's going to be resolved or solved by having that relationship?
Well, it's easier to look outward than it is inward.
Yeah.
And, we all want to be loved, but we really need to love ourselves first, because if you don't love yourself, I think it's hard for someone else to love you. And when you do love yourself, you exude a different energy and a
Yeah, it's confidence, for
confidence.
sure.
And I listen to people, and I was there too, that go from relationship to relationship to relationship because it's the wrong person. And we forget to
But
look
you're
at
still attracting the
ourselves,
same kind of person.
but we're the common denominator.
But it's what's going on in here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was watching, everybody has their own opinion on Dr. Phil, but I do like him sometimes.
He still says some clever
He
stuff.
does. And one show I watched, it was and it wasn't that long ago, it was only a couple of years ago, and he had this woman on, and she was talking about all these relationships that she was in, and she was in her 7th or 8th one, and I really identified with her, that's all I'm going to say. And she was going on, it was the wrong guy, and this happened, and it was his fault, and this happened, and it was the next guy's fault, and the next guy's, and so on and so on. And he looked at her and he said, "Are you listening to yourself?" And she said, "Well, what am I doing wrong? I just, all these people and blaming them." And he said, if you're I don't know how he said it exactly, but he said, if you're showing up at all these train wrecks, you have to look at the role that you're playing, because you're the common denominator here.
Yeah.
You're
She's the
one
train wreck.
that's,
Yeah.
you're the train wreck.
Yeah.
And I sat there and went, oh my God, Dr. Phil.
See, I was very
Nailed it.
opposite to that, because I was the one that would refuse to get into a relationship. So I was single for, most of my 20s, which was fun, but
for you.
at the same time, I was lonely at times, and I enjoyed my single and my freedom as well. But for 7 years, I did not want to be in a relationship, because I don't want to say I didn't want to settle, because it's not really, I don't think people want to ever settle. But I just never found anyone that I wanted to commit to or spend the time with, or feel that they were good enough for me, and it was never the right person. So it was easier, maybe I also found it easier to be single, because I can keep myself happy by doing whatever I wanted to whenever I wanted to, and not having to please someone else. But when you do find somebody that you can share special moments with, that's a huge thing, and very lucky to have that now. But I never wanted to be in the relationship. I thought it was just easier to be by myself, and I actually for a long time thought I was going to be single for the rest of my life, just because at that point I thought that's just how it was, that's how it is, and that's how it will be.
But don't you
that's okay,
find
too.
it actually
Yeah.
totally is,
Because I was okay with myself.
Yeah.
But that's
being
my
there.
point,
And
because
that's
I was
why.
just going to say that, is that don't you find that having that attitude, having that confidence, and that I'm okay with just being by myself, serves you so well now.
Yeah, no,
Because
it was
you are
great.
in a great relationship, but it wasn't like you had to be in a relationship,
Yeah.
right? That's what I mean about the key piece is the relationship with you. And what you've just described is somebody that was very aware of your own personality, what was right and what wasn't. There are some people that will say there's something wrong with me because I can't commit. Well,
Yes.
that can't commit is you can't commit to you.
Yeah.
And you know, this is something that I've often said, is that if you cannot love and commit to yourself first, and you go around and say to the first guy that comes along, will you love and accept me and make me feel special, and keep doing that?
Give me
I've done
chocolates.
that. I've done that. This is part of my own story, is that I have been in a place where I was so it's almost like there's something wrong with me. I'm shy. Can you believe that I was shy?
No, I don't believe you.
That it was giving somebody else the power to make me feel okay about myself.
Because then you didn't have to do anything.
Well, but you see what
Don't
it
take
does is
accountability.
that opens the door to a dysfunctional relationship,
very toxic.
for abusiveness, and I have been in that. I was in that type of relationship. And you know what you were saying about being alone and accepting the idea of being alone, and maybe that was the way it was going to be for the rest of your life. I remember that when I came out of I was almost 10 years in this relationship that was not okay, where I had basically sold out in a bad thing. I was stuck in a bad space. The learning that I got in coming out of that, getting myself out of that, and I did get to that place too. I loved my life on my own. I remember as I came out of the relationship, I ended up having to go and get my own place, and I got to pick the colors, and I got to pick curtains, and
Very empowering.
everything. It was awesome.
Were they purple?
Actually, no. There's no purple. Yeah, actually, there's purple in the bedroom, but that what to me was the best time for me to get totally unhooked. In fact, I was in my 30s, and it's the first time I ever lived on my own. It was so empowering.
Very liberating.
Yeah.
Really,
Sure.
unbelievable. And so then getting a real sense of who was I, what was right for me. And now I'm almost 17 years in a relationship, which is amazing. It's transformed and transitioned in many different ways.
Yeah.
But the beauty of the relationship I have now is we are both aware of who and what we are and what we bring to the relationship. So there's not that
And what you won't compromise on either.
Exactly. Yeah. What's the deal breaker type?
Well, the reason I was single for 7 years is I had 2 relationships back to back. And coming out of those 2 relationships, long-term relationships, I was a person I did not like. I was just conforming to what they wanted, or I
Yeah.
just, I kind of put up with way more than I should have, than any woman should. And you just kind of make this realization that I thought,
Sacrifice.
well, yeah, you sacrificed a lot, but
Oh,
then
yeah,
I
you do.
realized, I thought, I'm never, ever going to be in a relationship way long past it should be over. I'm never going to go back and forth in a relationship, because that's just inevitably going to end.
Yeah.
And I just made some decisions about my life that I was not willing to compromise anymore. And if it meant being single, that was the decision that I
should
had
be
to
it,
make.
yeah.
And, it wasn't like I woke up every day going, God, thank God I'm single, because I wouldn't have to answer to anybody. I wanted a companion. I love being in a relationship now, but I would rather be very, very, very selective than just open my door to anybody that walked through.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So don't you agree that I like what you just said about being very selective, but it's also about...
It's hard though.
It is
It's
hard
not an easy
because,
thing,
yes,
because
there's...
people want to
I know.
be needed and be in
so many
relationships.
people say, that they can't go out, they can't enjoy themselves if they don't have a relationship. They
The
can't...
holidays are very tough on people when they're
Yes.
single. Any
Yes.
relationship.
Yes. And I know that, but there's also ways to get around that. There's things like take yourself to a fancy restaurant. Be okay. I know I've done that. The going to the restaurant. I remember being made such a fuss of and being treated like royalty by this.
Oh, wow.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
But it takes, like you say, it's not easy. It takes a commitment to say, I matter, and I'm not going to settle for less.
For sure.
Because when you settle for less, you're actually...
You get less.
You get less, but you're also telling your own inner core you don't matter. You know those standards and ideals and things that you need, your own core needs, they don't matter.
Yeah.
When
And what
you're
if you have children?
Yeah.
Then what
Yes.
kind of example are you setting? I mean, I don't
Yeah.
have kids. I didn't have kids in my 20s. So if you are always settling for someone or allowing them to, be a doormat, my grandmother said to me, never be a doormat to anybody, and I've listened to that. That's
Good
what
advice.
my last relationship
Awesome
before the
advice.
one I'm in now, and I live by that sentence. She said it to me a long time ago, and I love her for it. But if you do have kids and you're their role model, especially if you're a single parent, a single mother or father, and you're allowing someone that's toxic in your life, you're only setting that example for them as well. So
And the
think of what
problems
you're,
just continue
Yeah.
through generations.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If there was one wee nugget that you could give somebody who, or like a piece of advice that, or for somebody who keeps going from relationship to relationship to relationship, what do you think that would be?
Stop.
That's good advice. Excellent.
Well, it's funny because, I'm listening to you guys and, 17 years and 10 years, and I would never make it that far, and I was very good at getting out and not going back and just closing the door, moving on and moving on. And when you do that, you're not dealing with anything either. So all these different things, we're all doing something different,
yeah.
but it's the same thing. We weren't happy with ourselves, or we didn't want to deal with it, or whatever. And I think it's becoming self-aware. You just have to somehow one day and just say, if this is not the life that you want, you just have to say, I just don't want to live like this anymore. And do, again, like we talked about with money and other issues, make a decision and do something about it. Talk to somebody, get advice, take time for you is
Do
very
something
important.
different.
Do something
I,
different.
Absolutely.
I met my boyfriend online. I forever was refusing to go online.
Yes.
I thought, God, you can't go online to meet someone. The reality is that's kind of where things are going now. And one day
That's
I
a
just
great
woke
way.
up and I decided I'm going to give this a try. Now I set a criteria for myself. I said, I'll go on dates. Let's go on as many dates as we can. It was almost a challenge with myself, within reason. I mean, to be respected, being asked out and to go out, but meet as many people as you can, because really it is a numbers game. Think of it from men's point of view. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
But, I tried something new. I kind of went outside my comfort zone, and I met an incredible man that I'm so deeply in love with, and I'm so happy that we met. But I did something different. I didn't
Went
go to the
outside of
bar.
it.
I
Yeah.
didn't,
Yeah.
try and get hooked
Yeah.
up with through
Absolutely.
friends. I didn't try and do the things that I've been doing so many times before that just never worked out. The 7 years single doesn't mean I didn't date.
Yes.
It just, I didn't let,
Didn't settle
I
down.
just didn't settle.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
try
yeah.
something new. Try something that you haven't tried before. And going online is a very safe way of doing it. Tell people where you go when you go on a date. That's the only advice I can give.
But when
But-
you're single, and there's people, that get out of a bad relationship and they're, they're grieving a loss, because it is a loss.
It is, yeah.
That's the time to take time for you. Do the
Precisely,
things that
yeah,
you haven't
yeah.
had time to do. How many of us say, oh, I didn't have time to do this, I didn't have time to work out, I didn't have time to take that course.
So go do
Take
them
that
all.
time
Yeah.
and then go online date.
Yeah. But try
Well, I
something
love-
new.
Yes,
Try something new. I love what you just said. That the thing is that if you're feeling stuck, regardless if you're in a relationship or you're not, you have to become aware. Become aware of
Yeah.
what it is you're doing. You can't change anything until you've got awareness.
You know that you're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be aware of what
And-
makes you happy as well.
Exactly. But the other part of it too is that to sit back and look at what is it, what's the common denominator in what's not working for you.
Thank you, Dr.
Because it's
Phil.
always you. Thank you, Dr. Phil. That was a good Dr. Philism. So getting unstuck with your own ideas of what you want, I think basically all it's about is that inner dialogue. And what is it I really want? Heal the relationship with yourself first is the best advice I think I could
Good
probably
advice.
ever give on that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.